Looking for the perfect hidden gem for your next night out? Welcome to Almost on the Lake, where the food is delicious. The service is top-notch. And the atmosphere feels like home. Family-owned and locally loved. Come see why everyone is talking about Almost on the Lake. Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations. Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating.
Good morning, Addison.
Good morning,
Chynna.
Good morning.
You jumped in on that because that's your sister.
It's true.
And you're used to talking over each
I
other,
am.
right?
I'm the baby sibling, so you know.
I didn't know that.
It's true.
So I thought I'm not surprised that you tell me that.
Yeah.
So you're not surprised he's the baby, are
No,
you?
he gives off younger sibling energy.
He does? What is that? What does that mean?
He's just so much more outgoing than I am and ready
Okay.
to do new things.
That she's
a little more responsible.
saying a lot of nice
A little
words
more.
for saying I'm the dumb sibling.
No.
No. But you are more responsible.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little more reserved.
But doesn't that give him the liberty to know that you've got his back and you're going to be watching just to say, wait a minute, that's going to have really bad side effects.
It's true.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I didn't know because you and I met first, and you talked about your sister, and Steve Kreitz had talked about both of you. He had called me a few weeks ago and says, Carl, you really should have Addison and his sister on because they're just so. Here's what he said.
Oh.
He said, and he didn't know that you had. We had done a show together before, but he said Addison and Chynna are role models.
Oh.
Said they're just such incredibly good people, and they're just the type of people we want involved with Wilkes Playmakers, with Benton Hall, because it allows their younger counterparts to see what it can be like in growing up, because you were at that age involved with theater as well. And so anyway, that was Steve's endorsement.
Well, that's very sweet. Thank you, Steve, wherever you are.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe you could use that when you go to the next, when you go to a restaurant before. I give Steve Kreitz credit. I'm really a good person.
You need to have all that in writing. Write it down.
Yeah.
Right, maybe he'll make a coupon or something. Well, anyway, so that was. I just wanted to give you that little
Thank you.
nod. It's nice when people say good things, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it is.
Theater has been part of your life for a long time. So you're part of Wilkes Playmakers. But I think when we talked, I knew you were part of that, but what I had gotten wind of from different people was the fact that you not only perform in Wilkes, but you perform at Dollywood and all these other places as well.
Correct.
So you've taken it from that entirely volunteer basis to actually a professional career as well. Yeah. So why don't we talk about that? Let's talk about the experiences that the both of you have as it relates to the theater, Benton Hall, as it relates to community theater, and how that helped mold your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, you can go first, right after me. All right. So, Benton Hall was where I did my first play, and I think it was our first play, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I did one before you.
Okay. Well, my first play. It was in 2013. So I was a wee little lad, and it was Best Christmas Pageant Ever.
Yes.
And I was one of the little Herdman kids, if anyone's familiar with that show.
Sure.
And it was my first show. I didn't know what to expect, and I had an absolute blast. And looking up to some of the adult performers, since I was 11 at the time, 11, 10, somewhere in there. It meant a lot just to see, oh wow. these are people who are really, really good. I want to, be like these people. And so just learning from that show, and just it kind of spiraled on to Willy Wonka and Tom Dooley, and kind of little one-act plays where it was just, the more I did, the more I retained. I learned from others. I watched from others. Every show next that I did, I tried to be better than the last one.
So you were a sponge.
Yes.
So you really were just absorbing it. So you were watching, right?
Well, I was actually alongside of him for a lot of that.
Okay.
We did all of our shows together.
Yeah.
Let's see, I did Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and then how many years did we do Tom Dooley? 3?
I think 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4. So that was really fun. And again, a lot of it is looking up to like the directors and the assistant directors and the older actors, because in your mind as a younger kid, you're like, oh, these people are it. They're doing this. And you're a little kid. You don't realize that everyone's just volunteering.
Were you thinking that, or are you now putting words to what you were thinking? Were you thinking back then, oh my gosh, Karen Reynolds is like, a fairy godmother or the witch or whatever, that part.
I remember thinking that as a kid, because seeing her in movies and stuff, I was like, I want to do that. That is really amazing.
Cool. Right. So that was important to you.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just kind of one of the first kind of acting lessons, I guess, I got was actually from watching behind the scenes of Back to the Future, because that's my favorite movie.
All goes back to the Future.
Michael J. Fox, one of my idols, growing up, is acting is reacting. And I was like, wait a second, that's a pretty good little tidbit there.
That's
so
a thing.
I would put that in, especially even in scenes where I didn't have lines. I'm not just going to stand there. I got to react to what's going on. That is acting. And so that was just an example of something I really tried to use.
So you literally picked up an important acting tip from a movie.
From a movie.
Yeah. And you employ that even to this day.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Well, that's good. That's good. When did you know that acting was something that was going to be part of your life?
I actually really vividly remember this moment. I was watching PBS, and they were showing a production of UNCSA's Oklahoma.
Right.
And I remember we were like cleaning the house because we had family coming over, and I couldn't clean. All I could do was sit on the couch and watch Oklahoma. Like I couldn't leave the TV. And I was like, I've always seen musicals, but it was the first time it really clicked for me. Oh, this is what I want to do. Right. I want to be up there. I want to sing Oklahoma, And that's when I really started taking it seriously. That was my moment. When was your moment?
Gosh, my moment. I don't even remember if it was a specific moment. It was just in doing more and more shows. It's just like this feeling you get of like, I really like this. Acting is kind of like my thing.
Okay.
It's just like sometimes you just have a feeling and
So yours was Michael J. Fox and yours was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Wow. Those are big contrasts as the things that we remember that push us forward. What was it about Oklahoma? Was it just the over the top performance of those voices and the expressions? Was that appealing to you?
I think so. I think also just knowing that these weren't like big stars. These were people in our community who had gone to college, and just watching the production quality and seeing like the music department come together and the theater department and the dance department come together. And it kind of almost sunk in. It took it from it's not really plausible to, oh, this is plausible. This is something attainable. Like I could do that. And I think that's what it was for me.
And it was also, I just thought of this while you were talking because you gave me time to think.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we did that. I could tell. I need to give him a break. So we went to China.
Going to theme parks, we grew up going to Tweetsie Railroad and to Dollywood. And specifically in Dollywood, a part of their shows is at the end of the show, the actors will come out, say their name, and say where they're from. Kind of a little like personal thing. It's kind of this breaking the wall of this whole time I have been, playing this character, and now this is me. At the very end, let me take my bow. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. This is who I represent. And I always thought that is so cool, especially if I heard someone from North Carolina.
Right.
Even though, especially Dollywood, most people are Tennessee or Nashville. And getting the chance to then work at Dollywood and get to be the voice, being like, I'm Addison Birkmire, from Hayes, North Carolina. And that was just so cool. Just kind of looking back.
You wanted to be there. You wanted to be
Yeah.
saying that.
Absolutely. And that kind of helped the drive
Nice.
to get there.
When did the two of you start dancing together?
Oh, we were very
now
little.
this I remember vividly. Clogging is our main dance form, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the national dance of North Carolina, or the state dance.
I
Or
think
it was.
it's either the state dance or the state popular dance. I
The
don't remember
state
the exact-
popular dance.
Something
I don't know,
along
something
those
like one of them is
lines. But-
shag dance and one of them is
I think
clogging.
it's definitely for South Carolina, but the shag
Yeah.
is certainly an iconic thing. But
Yeah.
then also regionally, we can look at the Western Carolinas. Definitely, the cloggers would
Yes.
be. There was a clogging group in Maggie Valley,
Oh yeah.
and that particular group. They would go to the White House. I mean,
Wow.
they actually went to dance for the president. So that was quite a story. And people still we have great cloggers in that part of the state.
Yeah, and the stomping grounds, right
Oh,
there.
sure.
Stomping grounds
You
in Valley.
know, that floor was built for clogging.
That's exactly
specifically
right.
for clogging.
So you've danced there, of course.
Yes.
yeah, it's awesome. Very, very fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
But Chynna, she had started clogging when you were like, what,
Three or four.
At the time, by the time she was like 6 and I was 3, when you're 3, there's a certain point in time of the day where your sister just vanishes the house for like an hour.
Right.
And you're just eating Scooby-Doo gummies and whatever. Yeah, Scooby-Doo gummies and watching the Muppets. I don't know.
Right.
And so one day, Mom and Dad were like, hey, do you want to come with us, to where Chynna goes to dance? And I was like, sure, I don't know. So we go. I was
a
3.
three-year-old.
And so I go, and I remember at first hating it. It was like the shoes were loud because, they have jingle
Right.
taps. The music was loud. As a 3-year-old, I was very overwhelmed and just was like, no, give me back to my couch and my snacks,
Right. Too much sound.
And the teacher, Miss Frida, she came over and she was like, so... do you think you're going to keep dancing? And right as I was about to very confidently say no, Chynna steps between us and goes, yes, he is. And here we are. I've been
The
clogging.
rest is history.
The rest is history. I've been clogging ever since. And I can't thank you enough for that. Because clogging.
So that's literally how it happened.
Yep.
So you remember that moment. Now, how old were you then?
I would have been 6.
So 6 to 6, and you were 3. Okay, big decisions.
Yes. And,
I remember there was many a time where you were like, I'm not going to clogging practice. And I was like, you better go to clogging practice or I'm going to get home and yell at you and break all your toys. And you were like,
I said, not my toys. I know. And I said, okay. And for
I
a
was
while.
dedicated, even as like a 6 and 7 year old.
And, for a while it was just kind of like, here I go. But I very quickly learned just how fun that dance form is because I made so many friends and it has given me so many opportunities to travel. I'm a part of I'm an honorary member of the Bailey Mountain Cloggers down in Mars Hill,
Sure.
right outside of Maggie Valley. And in 2018, I was able to travel with them to the Netherlands to clog.
Right.
And represent the United States through clogging. And I remember that was just so cool, just to be like, yeah, I'm here because I clog.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had an international experience, and it
Yes.
was all because of clogging. Well, your parents had to have a lot to do with this because somebody had to, you were 3 and 6, right?
Right.
So someone
Yeah.
had to drive you there.
Right.
So were they a driving force? Were they creative folk as well?
Absolutely.
Were they cloggers and dancers?
They weren't.
They weren't. No.
They were not.
The best
Okay.
I understand it, so we're actually from Maryland.
Okay.
And our parents are from Maryland, but my grandma's from Wilkes County.
Okay.
And so after my grandfather passed away, she was like, I really just want to move home, be around like my cousins and my family. So we moved back down to North Carolina. We were very little. I think
Yeah.
you were a baby.
Yeah, 1 or 2 somewhere in there.
And my parents were like, well, she needs something to do. And I remember they tried to get me into piano lessons first. And the piano teacher was like, she's way too young for piano lessons. Try again in a few years. But there was a clogging studio very close by. And they were like, can she please dance? And they were like, yeah, we'll take her.
Right.
So I think it seriously came from she's got a lot of energy. She needs something to do in the afternoon after school. So
Has it,
Took a
how is
chance.
it, other than just the performance side, how has dancing and performing, helped, once again, kind of separating the public performance side, but as an individual, what value has that brought to your life? What disciplines?
what hasn't it brought to my life? I feel like a lot of my life has been like, if dance is the sun, I feel like I orbit around it sometimes.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, it's taught me dedication. I think that's a really big one.
Yeah.
Because there's been so many times where I've just gotten frustrated and wanted to give up. And so it's really taught me persistence and dedication and plenty of friendship, most of my social skills.
And appreciation
Oh, yeah.
for the arts, but also just like music, being able to hear
a big
the
love for
complex rhythms and the different genres. You know, some people can turn the radio on and listen to a song, but I turn on and I'm like, oh my gosh, Chynna, listen to this. This would make a great clogging routine.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's like your brain just automatically does it.
So you started dancing at an early age. When did you start singing? Do you sing as well, Chynna? I know you.
I do sing
She
as
does.
well.
Okay.
Better than I do.
He was definitely the first to break out. Addison doesn't have a shy bone in his body, as I'm
true.
sure you can tell.
I don't.
So he was singing as soon as he could open his mouth. I remember going to preschool concerts where you were like,
Mom loves to tell the
soloist.
story where in the little like preschool choir we had, they put the girls in the front and the boys in the back, but I shoved my way to the front so I could be seen and grabbed the mic and you know, sung Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Do you remember that? Do you remember him doing that?
he was in a pumpkin costume.
Oh,
Because he grabbed the microphone, he sang pumpkin patch.
the picture's out there somewhere. I'll have to send it
It
your
was
way
funny.
so you can edit it in here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pumpkin patch.
but
Was
yeah.
he? How was he when he started? I mean,
He was pretty good.
yeah. As
Always carried it,
a
too.
young pumpkin, he could do it.
As
right?
a young
young
little
pumpkin.
gourd. Yeah. But singing, you know, just growing up listening to like the Disney sing-along VHS tapes and, you know, watching musicals on TV like PBS, you know, and just, you know, kind of singing in the car or whatever, you know, singing has always kind of been there for me. And then kind of when we got a little older, like Chynna had mentioned earlier about piano lessons, when she got older, she went to piano lessons, I went to piano lessons. And, you know, my favorite thing was to pick out songs that I could play and sing. At the same time, and even if it'd be pieces that don't have words, I like to make up my own words.
You would do the writing.
Don't remember what some of those songs were,
Right.
but I just remember being like, "Can you put a microphone here, Miss Anita?" You know, I wrote some lyrics to this song, and she's like, "This Beethoven song." I'm like, "Yeah."
So you did it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did people
Absolutely.
respond to your Beethoven?
You know, if
Evolution.
I recall, I at least got some applause,
Right.
and afterwards, during you know the goodbyes, it was that was really something. You know, that was interesting. You know, that was a new take on that piece. You know,
Right.
But and I just think that singing is very important as a way to get emotions across, just like music, because you can say something, but singing it'll put goosebumps, it'll give you chills. It'll
It gives us
make
that
memories.
emotion. The more emotions we have with anything, I think the different layers of how it makes us feel, that has the opportunity to have a bigger impact on our lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know that has anything to do with age either. I mean, I think when you're young, you feel it in a more simplistic way, and as you get older, I don't know that maybe even the feeling doesn't change. It's just your ability to talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe the enthusiasm is the same regardless of the age, but it just means more to you as you
Yeah.
get older. Right?
Finally finding the words to.
Do you find that true, Neko? How old are you now?
22, about to be 23.
So
Yep.
23 soon.
I'm 25, going on 26.
25 going on 26.
All
So
right. Hey, we can do math. All right.
Homeschool taught us something.
It did.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So when you look at things now, with the rearview mirror that you've just talked about, and then looking forward, how do you see your futures? What do you imagine that your life how will it continue to evolve? You have to think about this occasionally.
Oh, absolutely.
I have always dreamed about opening my own dance school, but I haven't wanted it to just be dance. I've always wanted to find a way to like also be a theater school. And so in my brain, a lot of dance studios do like yearly dance recitals. And in my brain, I've always wanted to do like a yearly giant production show. So it's like something we come across in community theater a lot is people struggle with dance because they're shy and they're uncomfortable about it. And they're like, well, I'm not a dancer, so I can't dance. So I would love to have the ability to like combine, like have our theater students act and then have our dance students do the choreography and just find more ways to really incorporate it and mesh them together. And that's kind of always been my dream.
That's interesting. So it's not not the performance theater like Benton Hall, but actually that preparation.
Yeah.
To help people have a better experience in that side.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be a positive thing. Would that vision include all ages or just kids?
I think all ages.
Yeah.
A big thing that I believe in, we do it at our studio in Boone, is we have a lot of adult dance classes. We have adult musical theater classes, adult hip hop, clogging, acro. Because I've noticed when I was growing up at another studio, it seemed like dance stopped once you graduated high school. And they were like, all right, well,
Yeah, like
have
you
a nice
graduated,
life.
so you
Right.
graduated.
You
Yeah.
graduated.
No
And-
dance for you.
No
all
dance
right?
for you.
Okay, you're in the real world now. Yeah.
And I find that our adult dancers, they just bring so much spirit and joy and enthusiasm that a lot of our kids don't bring because they're choosing to actively use their free time to come to dance class. And because a lot of them grew up dancing and some of them never danced before their 30s.
So are you suggesting that for the kids that have danced, growing up dancing and never stopped dancing, life is better?
I think so.
No?
That's
Okay.
the key. Keep dancing.
All right. That's good. I mean, we see
definitely
that with the shagging groups, right? I mean, when you go to Myrtle Beach during that season,
Yeah.
of the gathering in North Myrtle Beach, you don't see a lot of young people there. I mean, there is a younger group of shaggers
Yeah.
by design to help, preserve the dance culture and that dance itself. But it's true. I mean, this is truly, it brings life to. I have literally seen people kind of be hobbling around the parking lot, get inside, and then the music kicks in. And it's just like, who turned the power on,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It's that kind of thing. Why do you think that is? I mean, there's something, music and performing, it does tap into another energy source,
does.
doesn't it?
I think, like personally here,
Yeah.
theater, dancing, singing, the whole performing arts industry has always been my getaway from the real life, from real world, whatever problems or issues or whatever's going on in my life. I know the moment I can step onto that dance floor, the music's going, it's just me and I'm having a good time, And I feel like for a lot of people, that is their escape from reality, if you will, where they always know no matter what's going on. I always have dancing. I always have acting. I always have singing. Whatever it is, that is their happy spot.
You
that's
can
their
go
happy
to a place and have your best day,
Exactly.
even
Yeah.
if the morning necessarily wasn't, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's got to
Absolutely.
be good, right? That kind of helps us in society, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's going on now in your lives as it relates to Benton Hall. The
Yes.
other things that you've got going on are pretty darn exciting. You have an
Yes.
act. Are you going back to Dollywood this year?
Stay tuned. That's what I say for the next
Oh,
episode.
okay.
We're not sure yet. Year's still early.
Yeah.
Getting things
I
kind of
think
squared
they
away.
just booked themselves for another visit.
Yeah. Two birds with one stone.
I agree.
That's a very important lesson on promotions for those of you watching. That's
Yeah.
right.
But
That's good.
I hope that we will be able to go back. The past 3 summers, getting to perform at Dollywood alongside Chynna was like the best summers of my life. Just getting.
Was that on your wish list or goal
Oh, yeah,
list to
for
dance
sure.
there?
I've always wanted to work at Dollywood. Addison actually grew up performing at Dollywood. I think you were 12.
Yeah, it was 2014.
Before you were dancing.
No, this was long after I had been clogging.
Okay.
And I had done a
But it
couple
was
community
only 1 year
theater.
after
Yeah.
you done.
I'd done a couple
This
community
Christmas time.
theater shows under my belt, And I remember Chynna had saw on Facebook they were doing like auditions for kids. I forget what the specific age range was, but it was like 8 to 13 maybe, and I was 12, so it was like towards the cutoff. But why don't you give it a shot? And so I remember going to this big cattle call audition, over in Sevierville, and I'm surrounded by all these other kids, with all this makeup, and their parents with all their lists of stuff they've done, and their music theater coaches are there, and whole 9 yards. They have a resume this tall. I walk up and I'm like, hey, I'm Addison. I've been in 3 shows, and I'm a clogger. And I remember I performed. My audition was Stars from Les Miserables.
Which, as a 12-year-old, is quite the choice.
Right. And it worked. It blew him away, I guess. And the rest is history.
Wow. So was he really that good dancing, or was it the charisma?
I think it was the charisma. Addison really just radiates it. I remember he had on a little hat, and he goes, Stars, and looked up at the ceiling, because me and Mom were with you, and I remember the person at the table watching the auditions looked up what's he looking at?
What's up there?
Oh, so you were controlling people by your performance at a very young age.
Yeah.
Nice. So you got the gig.
I did, and I was in Oh Holy Night it's still a show there.
Sure.
And it's kind of the telling of the nativity story at Christmas. So I was Jacob the shepherd boy. And I think that also definitely helped as far as from a performance and a career in theater goes, being so young, being surrounded by so many people who went to college for this, who this has been their job, and I'm 12.
Right.
And this is my first, glance at professionalism, at its finest. And I think that definitely helped me in my theater skills and just people skills. And
so you were able
skills.
to learn from those who had the advanced education. You had not, but yet you were excelling during that time period.
Yeah.
Were they noticing that?
Oh, absolutely.
And were they saying, kid, where'd you go to school?
Oh, yeah. They were like, or did you go to, School of the Arts over in Winston? They were like, do they have some kind of elementary school program now? And I was like, no.
No, I'm in class now, thank you.
Yeah.
And I remember them asking, who's your agent, kid? And Addison was like,
what age?
My mom?
My sister? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that definitely, helped and benefited me, as I continued on.
Did you realize at that moment that something special was happening for you that doesn't normally happen to kids your age?
Oh, absolutely. A big part of that show that I learned very early on, and we were at the end of the show, I would have a very heartfelt little speech about how, the wise men could bring gifts, but, the shepherds, we didn't bring anything, but we can bring our heart, and to love, and, the kind of overarching message of Christmas about, love and good cheer, and looking out into the crowd and, seeing the people kind of tear up and just being like, I'm really making an impact, I'm making a difference in this. I want to keep doing this, absolutely.
Wow, the power of a tear, right? So that was great. So that was the beginning for you. You were witnessing this, your little brother, right? And seeing this happening. What were you doing during his bombardment of the theater world?
Yeah.
Right? What were you doing during that time?
I spent many a day on the back row of that theater.
Okay.
Yep. Bundled up in the cold.
Bundled up because it's an outdoor theater.
Right.
And they got 2 heaters in the back. And I remember me and Mom would huddle up under the heater and we'd watch all 6 shows just
so
all
you were being supported,
long.
right?
Being
Absolutely.
very supportive. But there was also time at, I think, your second year doing it. I was involved in a production of Christmas Carol put on by Blue Moon Productions at the time. And I remember a lot of the members in that show would help out a lot because Mom and Dad were in Tennessee. And so I was home alone with Grandma, who doesn't drive. And they're like, oh, you know what? I'll come pick up Chynna. Because I wasn't old enough to drive yet. I think I was maybe 14, 15,
Maybe. Yeah, you were
somewhere in there.
almost.
Yeah.
So you were working with
surrounded by
Karen
community.
Reynolds then during that time period. Were you aware as a young person of all the things that she had done and the Tom Dooley project?
I was pretty familiar because by that point in time I had been Perline, I think, for a season or two at Tom Dooley and working pretty close. So
all right,
had a fun time.
How was that experience?
Oh, it was so much fun. Right. I think about those times all the time.
Getting to perform at the Fort Hamby, amphitheater.
Something about Fort
Just
Hamby.
outside, it's magical. It's like right at dusk. It's the summer. The sun's setting. It's not super hot, and you're out here just dressed up in period wear, and you're telling a story.
Right.
It was definitely Tom Dooley. That was the first time that I felt like I'd experienced the magic of theater, like watching just. There was no lighting, like sure we got a couple stage lights, but even the sky was like an actor in the show.
Yeah,
It
how
was
it
just
started
nature.
off with the sunset, and the show starts. I know you're very familiar with the show.
Sure.
It's like it starts off very lighthearted, kind of happier, sun setting, everything's nice, blue sky. But then as the show gets darker and
Certainly
it takes
changes.
that turn, it's
Right.
dark. The moon's out, the stars are shining, kind of giving it that kind of ominous feel. And I remember that was really cool.
It was so much fun.
So you had some big impact moments then of experiences with big things, right? So, all right. So, what are your thoughts for people who are, watching now and they're thinking, well, I'd like to do something with my life to give it a little more purpose or just something else to do. I mean, how do you I think you've shared your values that it's brought to you being involved with community theater, but from a holistic standpoint and for everyone, what is that message about, hey, this might be something that might not put you in the middle of professional performances, but it can certainly be life-changing.
Yeah, I think I would definitely tell them, you got to just put one foot in front of the other, like the song of What Year Without a Santa Claus says. You just got to start.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Oh, yeah, Santa Claus is coming to town.
Get the right Rankin Bass special.
A good place to start is to stand. You got to start somewhere, if you will, and just get out and audition. And that's definitely the hardest part is just convincing yourself, well, what if this, and well, I'm nervous, what if I don't remember my line, just go for it.
Sure.
Because, you're going to have so much fun, and the community aspect, especially like at Benton Hall, like with the show we're doing right now, is bringing so many individuals from so many different backgrounds all together to work as a team. It is such a good lesson to learn as how to work as a team to really put on a show because, I can't put on the show myself. You can't put on the show yourself, but as a team, everybody will come together. And I think that is definitely, specifically in community theater, the best lesson in your first show is just learning how to be a team player, if you will.
So there's big value in that. And the other side is when you're auditioning, there's 10 people auditioning for the same part, one person's going to get it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you keep on auditioning, right? Can you imagine life without that in your life, without theater being part of it? I mean, what else would you have? Can you even imagine what else you might have done that would have bring you any of the joy that you're getting now?
I've thought about that many a time, what multiversal Addison would be doing, would he be at Harvard, getting a business, law degree or something. But anyway, I've thought about that, and I guess the first thing I think about is how dark and sad it would be. Everything's gloomy, no love of theater. And I just keep being grateful that I'm in the life I am now,
I mean, I remember even before I was involved with theater, this is like 8-9-year-old Chynna talking in my head when I was really involved with piano. I remember even then, my life goal was like, oh, I want to go play piano, like be a concert pianist. I want to go like play piano in a Broadway pit before I even knew what theater and Broadway was. And so I think it's funny that even before I was involved with theater, it's almost like my brain was steering me in that direction of the arts.
Wow, isn't that interesting? How what do you call that? I mean, is it your appointed thing to do in life? Is it the universe?
It's like your fate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
destiny, fate. Yeah.
Your density. No.
Yeah.
Dense.
The future there.
Yeah.
Well,
I am your dentistry or whatever.
dentistry, or did you say dentistry or
I said
density?
Density.
Density.
Yeah, great movie.
George
Everyone should watch Back to the Future. Great movie. Great musical too.
Yeah. So it's all going to be good. Okay, so things are happening now at Benton
Yes.
Hall.
Oh, yes.
You've got a show coming up. You're involved with all sorts of things.
Yes.
But it's fair. We talk about this. People will be watching this for a long
Yeah.
time. But let's talk about what's happening right now in your lives.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so Into the Woods.
Into the Woods.
That's the big one. So that's a show being put on by Wilkes Playmakers. The directors are Mario and Ashlyn Chavez. I know Mario was on the show
Sure.
recently for Picasso. And it's such a fun show. Into the Woods kind of brings a lot of fairy tales together. You know, I played Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. I'll let you introduce yourself if you haven't got the memo from the earrings.
I play Cinderella. I wore some glass slipper earrings today.
Nice.
But yeah, it's really the story of, we all know these classic fairy tales, but it's almost the story of how they all intertwine almost accidentally. The show introduces two characters who I'm actually not sure if they have their own fairy tale or if they were created for Into the Woods, but they're kind of the ties that bind us all together and start interweaving the stories of Jack and the Beanstalk and Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So-
And how Act 1 kind of goes is kind of setting up the characters, you know, right off the bat from the prologue, the opening number. You know, the narrator comes out, not trying to give too much away, but just kind of a sense of what the show is for those who don't know. You know, every fairy tale starts with Once Upon a Time, and literally once he says Once Upon a Time, the music starts. It's fast paced. It's just going boom, 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 kind of all happening at the same time on stage. You're introduced a little bit of exposition to Cinderella, and then Jack, and then the baker and the baker's wife, and Little Red Riding Hood, and then at the end of the song, we're all like walking through the woods, you know, together. And Cinderella actually starts the show. I'll let you talk about what line you get to start it with.
So the show starts with a line called I Wish, and, well, technically starts with Once Upon a Time.
But the first singing line.
It kind of introduces the whole entire theme of the show, which is our wishes. And what we do, what we're willing to do to get our wishes, and then not to give Act 2 away too much, but kind of the consequences of our wishes. Like,
What happens happily ever after.
yeah, you did what it took to get your wish, but then what?
So there's a little life lesson there.
There is.
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, I would imagine you'll have a great ticket sales for that.
I hope so.
For that
Yeah,
show, because
I
it's a
hope so.
fun show. It moves quick, right?
Very
Absolutely.
And there
a
is
lot of music.
and there's a lot of underlying stories. How have the rehearsals started?
Oh yeah, they've been going on since mid-January.
Mid-January,
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're like right about the halfway point final stretch as far as getting ready to start running and add costumes and lights and sound and tech elements. You know, I actually brought something for you, Carl, today on the show. So I'm Jack and the Beanstalk. So
this is actually
that
a
is
bean.
a bean. That's a real bean right there. That is a magical bean.
A magical bean.
That'll take
All
you
right.
to the land of the giants.
The land of that little bean there, Will.
You know, up there. And
so if we plant this,
it's true.
if we plant this in the pot and put it back there,
Yep,
when
you will
you
get a
guys
beanstalk.
when you guys are in next time,
Oh, you'll have a beanstalk.
then there'll be a beanstalk there. All right, maybe you guys can like climb down the beanstalk at the end
Right.
of the show.
Now, I'll have
That'd
to
be
get you
pretty
to sign a waiver saying I'm not held, you know, reliable if that doesn't happen or anything.
Yeah.
Reliable.
But anyway,
Those vocabulary skills.
Not
Yeah, thank
not
you.
the liability clause, the
the
reliability clause.
Yeah.
Reliable density.
Correct.
Reliable density.
Yes.
Or
Homeschool, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, or
But yeah, in the show,
Actually,
I
also brought my
oh
shoes.
yes.
Oh, look at that!
Now wait a second. That's not a glass slipper.
not.
Everyone's seen Cinderella,
Right, but that's
Just
you know
slippers. Pure as gold.
pure as
which
gold.
actually goes back to the original fairy tale.
There are a lot of people that know pieces of the creativity that happened in Wilkes County. Like if you're somebody in the family's dancing, they know that. If somebody's in a play, they know that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great musicians. So we have Merle Fest. We have lots of
Yeah.
stages in Wilkes County now. So there's that piece of performance. But to take a look at all of it and to look at the holistic nature of the creative energy that's in Wilkes and the fact that, yes, we have people that play music here, but we have a lot of session musicians that live here.
Yeah.
And they go to Nashville, they go to theaters, recording studios, or they travel the country and play with national acts, right?
Right.
And then as you share your story, well, many people know who you are, but to know your backstory, to know brother and sister, and how that all came to be, and the fact that you are travel and you perform in iconic venues, Dollywood, that's an iconic place, right? Sounds like both of you had pivotal moments there.
Absolutely.
And you two are a wonderful contribution there, but there are others, right?
Yeah.
There are other people who are doing this. So we have an incredible creative class of people that live in Wilkes County.
Absolutely.
And I think the community theater helps bring that to life to show off some of our younger folks, but then also some of our older folks.
Yeah.
So there's great value in that. So are you mindful of that and think about that when you look at the county and where you live and how that affects our quality of life, that this creative energy, there is a bit of magic to it, right?
Absolutely. There's just something about it here, whether it's the mountains or the music or Merle Fest, love Merle Fest.
Right.
There's just something magical when everybody comes together, and it's like, rehearsals, whether it's going rough or someone can't remember their line, whatever, on opening night, the curtains open, not a empty seat in the house. The magic just really comes to life. And I don't think that you get that sense of magic anywhere else. Sure, it may be magical somewhere else, but it's just something just so culturally rich about Wilkes County and doing community theater here, where it's just a feeling like none other, just from just how different people are, but they come together.
So now you're both getting older, still not older, but you're in your 20s now. But thinking about this area, right, and thinking about people who are looking at the area to move to, I think that it's more than just the great outdoors. I think I've met people who have come here specifically because of the creative activities.
Wow.
I've met people who have come here because of the theater activities.
Yeah.
And that means a lot. And doing that in nature and being able to go out and have, we had rehearsal, and you know what? We can go walk on the greenway. We just need to clear our heads or whatever, And if you're fortunate enough, you're out in the country, then you just go outside, right? And there it is.
There it is.
And that's a pretty rich experience, right?
Absolutely.
Guys, I'm glad you came in today.
Well, thanks for
Addison,
inviting us.
Chynna is great. I've always enjoyed our bumping into each other at the theater.
Yes.
That's
or like
all.
Apple Festival.
Apple Festival, that's right. Well, when you have a talent, and we're doing something, we've got a camera, we always talk to people we know that can do something.
Yes.
And you've never let us down, Addison. You always have something to say.
Well, thank you very much, Carl. I think my reliability clause was definitely proof of that.
It was loosely written.
But also thank you for inviting Chynna along this go round. I think one of the most important parts, I'll close with this, the most important thing, throughout my whole career doing theater is that, it's great to go to Dollywood and great to go to Tweetsie and great to go to Land of Oz or wherever I perform, but the absolute best part is that we get to do it together, because I've never really known many other people who are like, I get to do something with my sibling. It's always like, I'm a solo act and my sibling lives in Utah, I don't talk to him, whatever, but just really getting to do it together is truly just hands down the best part, and why I wouldn't change it for the world.
And I don't know where my professional life would be without Addison either. Got a really close bond.
Nice. I love that. Tim, try to find some appropriate music to close the show with this time. A little special, That's wonderful. Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, very soon. March 27th, opening night.
Oh, March 27th. Oh, that's the show.
That's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
And National Day of Theater.
National Day.
Wow. Three birds with one stone.
Three birds with one stone.
That's huge.
Three birds with one bean. There we go.
I got to plant that. Dark dirt or light dirt? Oh, probably clay.
Yeah, I was
red
going
dirt.
to say.
Wilkes County red dirt.
Just throw it outside.
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share this show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.